The legend, Nancy Lieberman, is here. How do I get to everything I want to ask? Let's find out. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal. Thank you for making us your first listen every day, where we talk about the past, present, and future of women's basketball. Saturdays, we've got the WNBA draft shows, which I'm delighted to say are continuing. We are already getting started. That's right, on the 2024 draft. We're going to be all on top of it, and there's a lot to talk about in the class ahead. But we also have a lot to talk about right here with Nancy Lieberman today, who joins us. Nancy has been with us before. We had the great Natalie Hevren come and cover the statue unveiling over at Old Dominion. That's correct. There are very few people with statues in the world, and Nancy is one of them. Nancy just joined the Winds as an ambassador. I can't list all your credits here. We've got a time frame. You got a plane to catch, but it's delighted to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anything for women's basketball. It's changed my life. It's changed the lives of so many people. And, it's about to change the lives of all the great draftees in the 2023 WNBA draft. So it's an exciting time for women.
It's exciting to look at your latest role. And I want to get into more about the Winds and what they did in segment 2. But segment 1 here, I just want to talk about how this came about, and just for our listeners to sort of have this understanding, there has not been an advancement in women's basketball in recent memory that Nancy Lieberman has not been a part of. Everything from the WBL, which of course we highlight on a regular basis and is so important as a part of our coverage, right through to the birth of the WNBA. You have coached, you have played, you have done everything in this game. So tell me why the Winds as an ambassador, why now? Take me through it.
Well, I've been very blessed to be able to be at the right timing in life. Some people would say my timing was not good because I didn't have my youth, my prime, if you will, in the WNBA. And that's okay. Everybody has their path and their timing. And I'm here. There's people before me that didn't have a WBL, that didn't have the Olympics, that didn't have a WNBA, that didn't have a Dallas Wings. So I think my timing, God doesn't make mistakes, and I'm the right person for the right job at the right time. As far as the Dallas Wings, this is really important to me. We started that franchise, back in 1998 as the Detroit Shock, and I was their first coach and GM. And then they moved to Tulsa, and now they're here. And this is a city that I've been in since I was drafted, by the Dallas Diamonds back in 1981. So women's sports means a lot to me. This team, the Dallas Wings, are very, very important in the landscape of what's going to happen going forward. They've already laid a great foundation. Greg Bibb, he didn't just stumble on this. He's been a fan and somebody who's helped women's sports for years. Now you have Amber Cox. That's an ace in the hole right there. When you have a wizard and somebody who sees the greater picture and has perspective. And when Amber came to me and asked me if I would be a part of this, I get to do a lot of things in life. Not everything I do is based on, millions and millions of dollars. Things I do at this stage of my life because I actually care. And I give a damn about certain things. And I care deeply about the success of the Wings, and for them to want me to be a part of what they're doing on the court, off the court, in the community, being a featured franchise in the WNBA because of what they're doing. how could I say no? Actually, there was a lot of gratitude and humbleness when they came to me.
It was fun for me to watch you make the rounds during the Final Four last weekend in Dallas, and watching the way in which there was sort of this like trail of oohs and ahs. I don't know if you just kind of get like used to it, but when you're in those spaces, there's this understanding about the work that you have done through the years in all these different ways. Is is it something that just you get used to because this has been your life's work? I just wonder what that's like. I'm just telling you, and this is full disclosure, that is not the reaction to me when I walk around.
Maybe you need a different hat. I don't
Maybe.
know. Maybe you need a Yankee hat.
Oh,
But yes, I'm used to kindness. I'm used to people. When you've given your life to something, and hopefully I've done the right thing, and I've been appreciative of the fandom and the kindness that has been, bestowed on me by so many fans around the world. I don't take it for granted because I think it's amazing to be remembered. And not only for the people that you affected when you played, 40, 50 years ago, when I was in college at Old Dominion, and we had a humongous fan base, around the country, not just in the Norfolk area, but to have been, different in the WNBA, in the NBA, in the G League, in the Big Three, where I currently coach. There's been so many different fans that come up, and why would you not take a picture? Why would you not smile at somebody and say thank you? I don't have to have an entourage around me. That's one of the cool things I always liked about Russell Westbrook. He just showed up by himself, and he might have had his girlfriend, now his wife, or if he said he was going to be somewhere, he showed up. And I really admire that. Same with like Barkley and some of those other guys who overwhelmingly are loved, or people want to be around them. And just being nice. It might be the first and last time they ever get to see you, or to shake your hand, or to take a picture. Why not make their day?
it makes sense to me, and it's listen, it's a beautiful thing to see. I'll leave it there. You come to this team, this moment. Obviously, there is Greg, there is Amber as well. You come to it with, an encyclopedic knowledge of the game, right up through the present day. I'm wondering, how do you input? Do you have input? What are the ways in which you kind of navigate that? Where there's because I would imagine, and I've had this conversation with Ann Myers Drysdale. It's a similar thing with Phoenix, right? Where there's this, there is a deep base of knowledge, but at the same time, there's understanding of a hierarchy. How do you navigate that when you're literally Nancy Lieberman?
Well, it doesn't matter if you're Nancy Lieberman or if you're Michael Jordan or whoever. Everybody in life has bosses on some level. And, this franchise is in really good hands. So if Amber and Greg lay out, hey, we'd like maybe some introductions into potential corporate sponsors, or let's get this community rallied around because we want to sell some more season tickets or day of game warm-ups, walk up. Or if we want to, get groups there, to come see the Wings play, really whatever they want me to do. And we're going to have a meeting, pretty shortly. And they're going to say, these are areas of importance to us. What can you contribute here? Mm-hmm. They have great coaches. They have great assistants, medical staff. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to support coach. I'm here to support the players, whether it's Enrique or Satu or any of the players. I'm here as a sister in the game if they need to talk or something's on their mind. But I'm also here to help this franchise continue to grow. They've done a great job thus far, and we'll just see where it goes from here.
It's going to be fascinating to see. And yes, Latricia Trammell in year one as head coach, so interested to see her system as part of what the Winds are running. And we're going to get into that because
she's going to be really good, by the way. For people who don't know her, she's given her life to this game. The players across this league really respect her. You know, you could be a head coach in the W or the NBA or the G League or wherever. Your lead assistant, that person has to be gold. They're doing so much of the grunt work. She's been on every side of this league, and now that she's in the first chair, she's going to get a chance to do what she does. And now she's going to have to find that wizard in the second chair. Yeah. So yeah, she's been on every part of it. So you might not totally know her name, but people within the league do. And, you know, she'll carve out, you know, her own history here with the Wings.
And regular listeners to this program, of course, LT has been on the program and we have sung her praises for a long time. It was overdue for her to get this opportunity. And yes, I think you're right. The biggest challenge for LT is going to be to find an LT because they're very hard to come by as well. So in segment 2, we're going to talk about the very busy night for the Dallas Wings as well. But first, going to let everyone at home know about Ultimate GM. Ultimate GM, one of our new sponsors, and it's a game that gives you the opportunity to be a pro basketball general manager. You take on every strategic aspect of a franchise, you play through seasons, you lead your franchise to glory as you build a historic dynasty. You can deal with challenging personalities, hiring the right coaches and assistants, trading and training players, making draft picks, you name it. You can do all of these things right from the app. Now, Locked On Women's Basketball listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. Go to probasketballgm.com or look it up in the app stores. That's probasketballgm.com with the promo code Locked On. Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today. So speaking of starting your dynasty today, let's talk a little bit about, and I have to start from the top with Maddie Siegrist, the 3rd overall pick in this draft, someone I've had the pleasure of covering throughout her time at the Big East. And I'm just, you know, from what you have seen so far, I just want to throw out a brief thing Denise Dillon said about her back in the NCAA tournament. Somebody asked, has anyone had the success that Maddie is looking to have with that high release shot? And Denise Dillon kind of laughed and said, well, you know, Larry Bird did okay with it. I'm wondering what comps you see out of Maddie Siegrist and the way in which she fits into the WNBA here in 2023.
Well, let me say this. I thought it was a great pick. I'm looking forward to actually meeting her because, first of all, Villanova, you got to be high IQ. I mean, that's just how they play. And when you lead the nation in scoring, 29, I think, 29-2 or whatever. So in the WNBA, at the end of the day, no matter how great a defense of coach or team you are, nobody's ever won a 0-0 game. Okay. You have to score to win. And we've seen it with championship teams. You've got to have great passers and you've got to be able to have great scorers and stretch the floor. So she can do that. And, you know, I like the fact that you're bringing, as I call it, you know, a professional scorer, in a certified scorer, if you will, into this team. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine having to find Enrique and find her at the same time? You know, it's a pick your poison selection by the team. And I think she's going to do just well with this team.
I asked her last night when we were in New York for the draft about what it's going to feel like just not to be double teamed. You know, just the fact that on this Wings team, they are not going to be able to pay the amount of attention to her that they did at Villanova on a day-by-day basis. But it is fascinating to consider, you know, she can play the 3, she can play the 4. I could even see potential lineups where she is almost like a small ball 5. And, you know, she even talked about that last night, that at Villanova, they're playing 5 out. I know LT is playing around with different lineups already, but that versatility seems to matter a great deal to Greg and to the Wings brain trust. Is that how you see that too?
Well, in the NBA and the WNBA, you're running a hurry up offense. You're running 5 out, the day of now, that's not to say it's not going to happen, but the day of just having a big sit down on the block, get the ball, and score, you can do that. But this is more motion. This is kind of that Euro style read, react, cut hard. I see her fitting in just great. And I think at the beginning when you're a rookie, no matter where you're selected, you have to earn the right to be game planned against. Everybody, game plans against, Arike at this point. So I do think she is going to come in and she'll knock down shots, and coaches are going to be like, okay, we got to take her away too. So if you have a young player that comes in this league that alters the opposition in their game planning mode, now you're working with, you're cooking with oil, and she could be that player.
That's the huge thing. It's does she change the center of gravity on the court, right? Is sort of the way at which I think about who's a good prospect, who's a great prospect. And she's
prospects, no matter who we are, what we think we are, you got to prove it at the next level. And at first, she'll have to come in camp and earn the respect and admiration of her coaching staff and her teammates. And then once you do that, now you get a chance to see what chemistry looks like.
They're going to take to Maddie right away. I feel very confident about that. But Maddie, of course, was just the beginning of a night that saw the wins. And again, this is to Greg's enormous credit. He is always thinking about multiple drafts at the same time. And Stephanie Suarez, bringing her over in a trade, she is in many ways a draft and stash. She had that injury. She's not going to be able to play here right away, obviously. But, adding someone with length who also has the ability to shoot from distance seems to me like, a further embracing of this, modern 5-out WNBA that we're seeing across the league.
She's really good. And I don't know if we're stashing her, but we're going to get her healthy and get her ready. You can't coach height. She's 6'6". Mm-hmm. She's, Sao Paulo, Brazil. I played against Hortensia. I played against Magic Paula. I played against some of the great players in the history of Brazilian basketball. Yeah. They're good. They're talented. They're athletic. And then, for her to come to Iowa State and do what she did for the Cyclones, she'll be fine. She'll get healthy. She'll get strong. And then when she gets on the court, it's going to be unbelievable to see her skill set. You're right.
Yeah, I'm something very exciting. And of course, there's so much more, right? So there's Lou Lopez-Marshall, who rose late as well. Somebody who came from Fairfield, made that transition to UConn, plays, and you talked about this read and react offense that there is. And, obviously playing in the Gino and CD system allows you to do that as well. But, to me, what stood out for me about Lou when we're watching her in her final season was her toughness, that she was often one of the smallest players on the court, but found the way to get to the rim, was super efficient when she got there. I would imagine you have some affinity for her as a player as well.
Can you hear me at all?
Oh, I hear you now. Yeah.
You were frozen for a minute. So going
about Lou, yeah.
Going back to Lou, it doesn't matter. They've had some of the greatest guards at UConn that the world, they could build a mountain, point guard mountain with the guards that they've had coming out over the years at UConn. The fact that she knows how to get to the rim, she knows how to navigate, to drive, to draw, and then to dish. And then if you don't guard her, right? She hit 44%, I think, this year, averaged about 15 points a game. And they didn't have Paige. AZ was back. They've had injuries. And I think this is a really good pickup by the Wings. It's going to be a competitive camp. I'm telling you right now. UConn runs pro-style offenses.
Right.
They do. And so, I think she's going to fit in just fine with movement, ball movement, foot movement, screens coming off screens, navigating, short roll, long roll. It's going to be a fun time. I can't wait to go to training camp for a day or so, maybe, and just watch.
Mm-hmm. Just watch. You don't think people are going to ask you for advice while you're there?
I'm not here. I'm not in the advice business. I'm here in the support business.
Fair enough.
I have a team to coach in the Big Three this summer. I have enough responsibility.
That is fair. That you do not lack for those. That is very true. Want to make sure we get to, among other things, Abby Myers, who has a chance to be a Jewish basketball icon, in addition to being a standout at first Princeton and then Maryland in segment 3. I am first going to talk about FanDuel, and FanDuel offers new customers a no sweat first bet of up to $1,000. If you go to FanDuel.com/locked-on and sign up, place your first bet, you get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. Gives you an opportunity for a no sweat first bet when you join, either through the site or through the app. FanDuel is the official partner of Major League Baseball. So I mentioned that, and I do wonder, I have relatives who I will hear from anytime there is a Jewish player. And, the fact that Abby was so successful in that way, is there an affinity for you that comes along with that as well, being able to see her succeed?
Yeah, of course. I mean, my family's Jewish. I've been Jewish my whole life. I played. My son is currently playing in Jerusalem. He's, for Hapoel Jerusalem right now. He played a year ago for Maccabi Tel Aviv and 2 years for Holon. So I've gone out there, supported him. I've spoken at their Olympic conference on, diversity, equality, and inclusion. So, yeah. And Shay Duran is a great friend of mine, her and her family. So, yeah, it's kind of nice to see a young Jewish girl be able to do this. I coached Omri Caspi with the Sacramento Kings when I was coaching in the NBA. So it's kind of fun to see, a success. And she's done that. I mean, to play in an Ivy League school, which, of course, I didn't. But to then transfer to Maryland where Shay played. Mm-hmm. And to show that she still, I think she might have been co-captain at Maryland, if I'm right. Hey. And I follow the women's game so much, even though I'm more on the men's side for the most part. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Abby coming out there, showing her leadership. And again, the spirit of the team will evolve in training camp on who has what role. And, as we say, and I do the TV for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Coach Dagnall will say, if you're live, be ready to play. Mm-hmm. So these young people have to be ready to play. Matter of fact, the older players, the veterans, be ready to play, because these young kids are coming. They're coming for your job. They're coming to compete, and you have to be able to raise your level of play. We're in a very, very competitive world, and people want sometimes what we have been blessed to have.
It is fascinating. As I said, we can't get to everything this time around. I hope we'll have you back very soon. But it's delightful. I don't have to tell you those same relatives where you are in the conversation among Jewish icons as well. So I definitely, as a Jew myself, have certainly heard so much about you, and I'm going to be very excited to hear what they have to say about our show here today. I want to thank the listeners at home for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen today. Now go make your second listen, game to game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA, that local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Nancy Lieberman, thank you so much for your insight. Thanks for all you are continuing to do for the game of basketball. Can't wait to see you again soon.
Well, Howard, thank you for what you do for women's sports, and that you care enough to do this podcast and, just religiously share the virtues of our game. And I do want to, again, before I step off, I want to thank, the Dallas Wings. I want to thank them for having me, for what they're doing for women's basketball in this great Metroplex here in Dallas. And I can't wait to be out there and see them play. And I hope everybody will join me. Come hang out with me at a Wings game.
Who did say no to that, everybody? Make sure you do. I'll be back with you tomorrow. All the best. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Ogunbowale for the win. Good!
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.